Hello guys, welcome back to my channel and enjoy this fanfic part 2. Now let's start the fanfic. The air was chilled, but it felt nice against Hinata's skin as she turned the doorknob to her house. Her father wanted to spend a few days with Bolt, and Hinata deserved a break from her 6-month-old son. Plus, today her plan was going into action. Today was the day. She was going to do it. She wasn't going to be the sub this time. She was planning on a full afternoon for her husband, who should be home soon after, giving her the perfect amount of time for her plan. She changed into her birthday suit and went back downstairs and grabbed her apron, putting it on. She tied the bow behind her back when she heard the door click. Her heart started beating fast as she heard the door open. "Hina, I'm home." Naruto yawned out. Hinata turned from the kitchen into the hallway for her husband to see her. Welcome home." She stuttered a bit, but other than that, she was doing well. Except Naruto didn't notice. Instead he walked lazily over to her and hugged her. "Hina, my team is going to wear me out. All they want to do is train and go on missions, and I know it's good to improve yourself, but they never even want to take breaks," he said as he let out another yawn, resting his head on top of hers. Hinata didn't prepare for this, but she improvised as best she could. Maybe I can help your tired body," she said as she wiggled loose a bit. "Really, Hina? Yo, where are, your clothes?" Naruto asked, eyeing his wife's body while his cheeks tinted red. "Why does that matter?" she replied while putting her hand on her bare hip. I guess it doesn't. Hinata, this isn't like you." Naruto paused, "But I like it," he said while putting his hand on her waist. Hinata grabbed his hand before it rested down and said, "Not unless I say so," she stated. Naruto raised an eyebrow at her, but smiled immediately after. "Of course, Hina. It's Hinata-sama," she said as she walked up the stairs towards the bedroom, putting a little more shake in her hips than usual. "God damn, that woman is hot," Naruto thought as he followed her up the stairs, looking at her beneath the entire time. As they were moving, she undid the bottom tie of her apron, letting the string swing in time with her hip, then undoing the top on, leaving it piled up at the top of the stairs. She turned around to face him once he was a step behind her. "Why you need to be completely by the time we reach the bedroom," she said, still trying to stay in character. "As you wish, Hinata-sama," was his reply. He then kissed her left nipple lightly, to which she hit him on the head, just hard enough, and told him, "That's a warning," and she continued on her way. Naruto took off his Junin jacket with a surprised look on his face. Naruto closed the door to the bedroom and saw his wife was standing next to the bed with her arms on her hips and her legs shoulder length apart, looking in control. "Lay down," she prompted. Doing as he was told, he laid down on the bed, looking up at his wife's face. He thought it was too cute to be so demanding, but he didn't say anything, and waited for his next instruction. But instead of getting instructions, Hinata climbed on top of him. "I like where this is going a lot," Naruto thought as she lay down on top of him, moving herself downward. "She isn't going to, is S?" Naruto's thought was answered before he could finish it as Hinata wrapped her hand around his length. She is, he thought. It's not like Hinata never touched him, or gave him oral, it's just that he never asked. He was normally initiating, and anytime he did, it wasn't about pleasing him, it was about pleasing her. She moved her hand at a steady pace as Naruto relaxed his body, moving her hand completely around his, and started getting a rhythm, adding in the other hand at his base. Slowly she put the tip in her mouth, swirling her tongue. She moved her hand faster. She started moving her head up and down, using her hand to cover the part she wasn't to yet with a twist to it. She took her mouth off of him and licked the entirety of his, then lightly blowing on it to send a shiver up his body. Hinata, sama, he groaned out. She then put the entirety of his in her mouth, flexing her throat, and moving her mouth up and down just slightly. Ha-ha, were the noises her husband was making. She internally smiled to herself as she completely stopped what she was doing. She sat upright and looked at him, and him doing the same. Why'd you stop? He timidly asked. Did I say you could talk? She simply stated, her face as serious as her tone. Sorry. He mumbled, breaking eye contact with her. Better be, she said, pointing at his face. Naruto didn't know what sparked this mood in Hinata, but he liked it. He loved what she was doing to him, but knowing who she is, it's hard for him to fall for the act. But seconds later Naruto felt a hand shove his body back down. She crawled her body on top of him as he watched, wide-eyed. Still, I feel like I have to make you pay for that, she said, twirling her finger on his chest. Naruto played along still. Please do. Then he thought for a second about his next words. I need punishment. He thought it sounded absolutely silly coming out of his mouth, but he knew Hinata would have said the exact same thing in his position. Hinata gave him a little smirk while placing herself completely on top of him. Slowly she lowered herself, teasing his with her. She'd let a half-inch in, and then she was up again, a little more, and up, toying with her husband, who let out a defeated sign every time. Do you think you learned your lesson? She coyly asked. Yes, he yelled in frustration. Hinata laughed at him. If you think you deserve it, she said as she let his in her completely. Even Hinata wanted it, which was evident by her eyes rolling up a bit. She stayed like that, completely still on top of him, for a while, just squeezing his with her inner muscles, then started moving her up and down his, bucking towards him occasionally. Naruto stared at his wife go. The way her hair bounced as she did, the cute blush against her pale face, and the way her chest flowed with her motions made him even blush. Hinata saw her husband staring at her. She looked at him with a pout on her face as her eyebrows furrowed a bit. Hinata-sama, you're very beautiful. He told her. Thank you, but your compliments will get you nowhere, she told him while continuously making her movements more rough. Naruto reached for her hips, but was quickly slapped away. Not unless I say so, she scolded. But Hinata-sama, so unfair, he told her. Hinata got up for a brief moment to turn her body around and started riding him in reverse. Naruto watched as her slapped against him. The bounce it had was breathtaking, in his opinion. She moved rapidly. Her body was moving hard enough that Naruto was being moved down the bed an inch with every thrust forward. Naruto wanted this to last forever, but he knew he wouldn't even last that long. God! Hinata! Naruto yelled as his wife continued to ride his. Naruto slapped her as it jiggled back and forth. Hinata was using his knees as leverage to make her motions harder. Say my name, she said firmly. Fu. Hinata. Naruto said, but Hinata stopped her movements and looked back at him. Hinata-sama. Naruto yelled in frustration at her stopping. Giving a small smirk, she turned back around and continued. I can't hold on much longer. Naruto gasped as his eyes closed and threw his head back on his pillow. Oh, are you going to come in your little wife? She asked him with shyness in her voice. That's the plan. He yelled back at her. Hinata just laughed to herself, expecting what was going to happen next. Hinata-sama. He screamed as he came. With his pulses he bucked his wife back towards him out of reflex. He grabbed onto the bed sheets as his orgasm continued inside her. She continued to stay on him, despite his body trying to throw her off. His orgasm subsided after a minute as Hinata slid off of him, cum dripping out a bit. She lay on his side as he was sprawled out on the bed. What was that about? He asked in between breaths. He heard her giggle as she answered, what about? Naruto turned his head towards her. You know, what is. I come home to my normally sweet and timid wife, yet today she was nowhere to be found. It was seductive Hinata. Hinata isn't wearing anything but her apron and is that hot, Hinata. He wiped sweat off his face. I loved it, don't get me wrong, but it was out of the blue. He continued. Hinata traced her finger along his collarbone. I don't know. I saw Ino do something sweet for Sai today and I thought, what was something I could do for you? So I dropped Bolt off with my father for a few days, like we planned, and put my plan together. She told him. Well, that was a hell of a plan. He said with a smile on his face. I know you like when I'm more dominant too. She said, poking his nose. He laughed. Yeah. He turned his head toward the ceiling. Yeah, I do. There was a pause between the two of them for a while before one of them spoke again. So Bolt is gone for a few days. MMMHM. Then what are we just lying around for? Well, there went the smut. I had like bits and pieces of this typed out vaguely. Anyway, this week is spring break. So aside from working 32 hours, at a part-time job, this week I should have plenty of time to type things, so woot woot fun times. Hinata was holding her son's hand, waiting by the village gates for her husband to return from a mission with his team. Normally they would wait at home for him, but Bolt was being impatient this time around, since he wanted to show his dad the picture he drew of him. Now Bolt, you have to be patient and wait for daddy with mom, okay? Hinata told her son. But dad is taking forever. Bolt told her, shaking the picture in his hand. Don't worry. He's probably tired from being on a mission, so he should be back soon. And don't crinkle the paper. You want it to be perfect for daddy, right? Bolt smoothed out the paper while quietly saying, yeah. Bolt admired his work. The orange of his dad's clothes was the perfect shade and there were only a few parts where his crayon went outside of the areas that contained them. He thought his dad looked strong and cool, just like himself. You think dad will like it? He asked his mom. Of course he will. He loves everything you do. She said while ruffling his blonde hair he got from his father. Bolt smiled wide at his mama as he stretched his arms up, wanted to be held. Naruto-sensei, how much longer? A young, dark-haired girl named Kurua asked. It's only a little farther from here to the village, so not too much longer. He replied while crossing his arms crossed behind his head. I can't wait to tell everyone how cool you were, sensei. A boy named Shinta exclaimed to his teammates. There's no need, Shinta. He's a war hero. Everyone knows how cool he is. Their third teammate, Rinri, said. But still, the way you took on 10 guys at once was so cool. Shinta said, defending himself. It really wasn't a big deal. I'd take on 100 guys for you kids, it's my job. Naruto told them. Naruto enjoyed his hardworking team, even though they seemed like they wouldn't get along. Shinta was like Naruto in that he never really had a plan, he just went in, but he was also good on his feet. And the two girls, Kurua and Rinri, were complete opposites, one being loud and aloof and the other being reserved and quiet, but put them together and they could rival the brains of a younger Shikamaru. Combine that with Shinta's headstrong attitude, and they made an incredible team together. Sensei, that's so cool. Kurua and Shinta told him in unison, while Rinri just turned her head to the side with a slight blush on her face. You guys are practically family, and I have to make sure you're safe, right? He asked them. Right. They said in varying tones. Rinri turned her head in front of her, seeing into the distance a bit, making out two figures standing near the village entrance, one clearly smaller than the other. Speaking of family, I believe yours is waiting for you. She said, lightly punching her sensei in the arm. He squinted his eyes, and sure enough, he could make out his wife's indigo hair, and his son's blonde. Oi, it is, he said with a smile on his face. I wonder why they're waiting for me. He asked himself out loud. Maybe you're in trouble, Shinta said, pointing at Naruto. Sensei is in trouble. Kurua mocked. I am not, he yelled at his students. Mama, is that dad? Bolt asked, pointing off in the distance. Hinata already knew it was, but she didn't want to ruin it for their son. Maybe you should go find out, she said, putting him down. He smiled at her, and started running for a few feet, then turned back around. Can you hold this please? He asked, gesturing his drawing towards her. She let out a small laugh and took the page. I'd love to. Her son smiled again as he took off as fast as his 3-year-old legs could take him, which was surprisingly fast. Hinata walked behind him as he made his way down the road. You have a present coming your way, sensei. Rinri said, interrupting the argument him and her teammates were having. Naruto looked ahead and saw his son's hair flying behind him. I guess I should meet him, huh? He said jokingly to his team. He started a light jog to his son, which was still faster than he was running. Dod! Bolt yelled as they were a few feet from each other. Naruto bent down and picked him up, still killing the momentum from his jog. Bolt, have you been? Did you miss Dad? He asked him, helping him get his hair out of his face. I missed you lots. Lots and lots. He replied, snuggling into his dad's chest. I missed you too. I missed you lots and lots. He put his son on his shoulders, and pretended to be lost. Now where is that beautiful mom of yours? She has to be around here somewhere. He said, scanning the area with his hand above his eyes. Dod, she's right there. Bolt said, pointing at her with one hand, and pulling Naruto's hair with the other. Hinata laughed as she was a few feet in front of her husband. No, I still don't see her. Are you sure she didn't get lost, Bolt? He asked, moving his body in front of Hinata's. Silly, she said, pulling his shoulder down to kiss him on the cheek. I'm right here. Naruto's arms opened up and wrapped around his wife. Hinata, there you are. I was blinded by your beauty and couldn't find you. He said, kissing her head, then bending down and kissing her lips. Hinata-sama, Kurua yelled, waving at her. Naruto's team knew plenty about his family, since he never shut up about them. It was, Hinata's so beautiful, this and, Bolt is so cute, that. Anytime his family did anything significant in the slightest, they were told about it. Hinata and Bolt would even frequent the training grounds to watch them spar, cheering them all on. Hinata would give them helpful advice, even training them a bit herself. Bolt just thought they all looked cool. Hi there everyone, she told them as they stopped in front of her. So how was the mission? She asked. Well, Shinta started, it was out first B-ranked mission and since we're all chunin I thought that it'd go smooth, but we got ambushed and Naruto-sensei had to save us from these 10 guys and it was really cool. Hinata gave him a worried look. Quote. But it was also very dangerous and should not happen again. He continued. We weren't ambushed. You went in without a plan and sensei only had to save you. Rinri pointed at him. Well, yeah, okay, that's true, but still, it went good. Other than that, the missions is accomplished. He said, giving her a thumbs up. Yeah, I just have to take a little something to Kakashi and then the mission will be accomplished. Naruto said to Hinata, stressing the then. Well, that's good, she said, and congratulations you three. She said, giving them her own thumbs up, Bolt giving them his best one too. Hey, after I take this scroll to Kakashi we can all go get ramen on me, how's that sound? He asked his team. Was their response. The one thing Naruto didn't like about his team is that they didn't care for ramen. Naruto mumbled to himself, fine, I see how it is, I'll just take my family and you all have fun going wherever there isn't ramen. Sorry sensei, my family already has dinner planned, said Kurua. Yeah, it's Thursday, that's always barbecue night with my parents. Shinta said. I had a previous engagement as well. Rinri said. I don't need your excuses. Naruto whined. Bolt patted his head. Don't worry Dad, Mama and I will eat with ya. Naruto laughed happily at his son, then faced his students. Now I want you all to report back to your families and I'll go see the Hokage myself, and take all day off tomorrow, so enjoy your 3-day weekend. He told them. Yes sensei. They said in unison, then ran off towards their homes. The Uzumaki family walked their way towards the Hokage Tower through the village, making small talk. So, 10 guys huh? Hinata asked him. Well yeah, I mean, Shinta can be so reckless and I wasn't going to let him get hurt. He said, scratching his face. Are you hurt? She asked. Me. No. They didn't even scratch me. Naruto said, being proud of his abilities. Mom, Dad is Indies, real tough. Bolt said from his dad's shoulders. I'm real tough. Naruto said as he brought Bolt down and into his arms. I thought you were real tough. He said, throwing him in the air, catching him. Bolt laughed as he was caught. Then he remembered something. Dad, I have something for you. Bolt said, kicking to be let down. And what's that? He asked. Bolt was sticking his hands in his pockets, trying to find his drawing. After a few seconds he looked as his mom with tears forming in his eyes. Hinata giggled slightly and handed him the paper, watching his tears disappear. You gave it to Mama to hold, remember? She smiled. Bolt took it from her hands and gave it to his dad. Naruto looked at the paper and could automatically tell it was him. There was a blob of yellow at the top and a big chunk of orange. The face also had whiskers scribbled on it. Is this me? He asked, looking at his son. Bolt shook his head with a big smile on his face. I couldn't have even done better. He said, which he believed to be true, and lifted his son up again, swinging him. As soon as we get home it's going in a frame on the wall. He said, continuing his march to the Hokage office. He wanted to meet you at the village gate to give it to you, and I guess you got caught up in the excitement, huh Bolt? Hinata asked him. Yeah. Sorry Dad. He said. Better late than never, ya know. Naruto yelled out. After giving Kakashi the scroll Naruto had in his backpack, the family returned home. Naruto put Bolt down for a nap with minimal effort. The kid was falling asleep on the way back home. Meanwhile Naruto almost fell asleep with him until Hinata called him downstairs. He lazily walked down the stairs, letting out a yawn or two. Yes darling, he asked her while wrapping his arms around her shoulders. I want to show you what Bolt and I worked on while you were gone. She said, pulling him towards the back door, still encased in his arms. Alright, I'm coming. He said, sacrificing his hug for holding hands. He was dragged outside to their backyard and found a stretch of ground outside had been sectioned off, dug up, and labeled. Are you two starting a garden? Naruto asked his wife, who shook her head for a response. That is too adorable. Did you get him little gardening gloves? She nodded again. They're over there in that box. He wanted the ones with the bees on them. She smiled, grabbing his arm. I would too, he said, leaning his head on top of hers. I thought it would be nice for him to have some responsibility. Yeah, I could see that. I never was into gardening, but it's a great idea. Especially since he's going to be a big brother soon. It's a good way to PR. Naruto paused to think on his wife's words. He pivoted his body in front of his wife, grabbing her shoulders and looking her in the eye. He's going to be a big brother? He asked. Yes, she replied, a smile vaguely starting on her face. But to be a big brother, he needs a little sibling. That's true, she said, her smile growing. So what you mean to say is that I'm pregnant? She bit her lip from excitement as she told him, yes I do. She watched as all the tiredness of her husband's face completely washed away. She felt his hands grab her hips and before she knew it, she was off the ground. We're having another kid. Oh Hinata, that's great. He yelled, not caring who heard as he spun her around in their backyard. Put me down, she said, laughing while protesting. But Hinata, I'm so happy I can't. He said, bringing her into a hug, her feet still not on the ground. I'm so happy and I don't know why. He told her. After a few more protests she finally got her wish and was put down, but Naruto still wouldn't let go of her. Is this real? How did this, he said while putting his hand on her stomach, happen? I mean I don't care that it happened I just want to know, you know. He said, still smiling. Hinata smiled back at him, grabbing his and leading towards their back table. Well, I was already suspicious of it for a week or two, and while you were gone for a few days I started getting nauseous and lightheaded and all that, so I went to the doctor and they told me the news. She said as she folded her hands in her lap. God, I feel like a kid myself getting excited over this. He said, running his hand through his hair. Well, I'm just glad you're excited. She told him while laughing at his comment. Why wouldn't I be? He asked her. I don't know. Maybe you wouldn't want another kid, since we weren't really trying, or maybe you thought Bolt was enough to handle on his own, just silly reasons. She told him while waving her hand. Hinata, I will love, unconditionally, any child we have, no matter what. I don't care if we have one, or if we have 17. He exclaimed, fidgeting with her hair. I know you would. I just always worry about the small things, you know. She said, playing with his hair as well. So how far along are you? He asked. About 7 weeks. And I'm barely showing, she said. Yeah, that's a long time for me not to notice anything. He gestured for her to stand up. Looking at you. I mean, there's like a small little bump, but that's it. He told her. I know. With Bolt he grew fast. But this little one wants to take its time. She said, rubbing her little bump. Have you told Bolt yet? He asked. I wanted to wait until I was with you to tell him. She said. Before Naruto responded, they heard a cry from the house that neither one of them were expecting. Mumma. Da Adi. Bolt's yell could be heard even outside the house. Naruto immediately jumped up and ran inside, Hinata following right behind him. They found their son in the kitchen with tears in his eyes. Naruto crouched down next to him. Bolt, what's wrong? Are you hurt? What happened? He asked as he wiped the tears from his son's face, examining his body for injuries. I couldn't find why you or mama. I thought you left me. He said through hiccups. Naruto's shoulders physically dropped from relief as he pulled him in for a hug. Bolt, it's okay. Mama and Daddy aren't ever going to leave you, okay? He said, petting the back of his head to calm him down. Hinata crouched down beside him. Mama and Daddy are right here. We were just having a conversation outside, that's all. She said as she kissed his cheek. Bolt broke the hug and looked at his dad. Sorry I got scared. Hey buddy, everybody gets scared from time to time. Mom's been scared, I've been scared. Heck, I'm scared of Mom. The last one made Bolt laugh. But Mama is pretty and sweet. You can't be scared of Mama. He told his dad. Hinata leaned down and picked him up. Of course he can. Mama is tougher than Dad. She told him, fixing his hair. Really? Bolt asked. Of course she is. Mom is strong enough to take down 8 of me. Here, watch. Naruto created 8 clones, and every one of them, with Bolt's help, Hinata flicked out of existence, even doing it to the real one. See, Mom can defeat 8.5 of me. Naruto said, rubbing his forehead from Bolt's punch. Now I remember earlier we said something about ramen for dinner. Hinata reminded. Later that night after getting home from Ichiraku's, Hinata took Bolt from off the living room floor and put him on her lap. Bolt, Mom and I have a question for you. Naruto said, putting his arm around the two of them. Well, I didn't do it. Bolt said flatly. I'm sure you didn't, sweetheart. Hinata said with an awkward chuckle. She continued. You know how you have Aunt Hanabi. How she looks a lot more like Mama than Aunt Sakura or Aunt Tamari. Yeah, she has the same pretty eyes as Mama. He said, poking at his own eyes. Well, thank you. But that's because she's my sister. Hinata said. I know that. And Gramps is you daddy, right? He asked her. Yes, that's true too. She said. But the question we're asking Bolt, Naruto said. As if you would mind your own sister or brother, like Mom has. Ew. Aunt Hanabi is old though. I don't want an old sister. Bolt exclaimed. Oh Hanabi, I'm so glad you aren't here. Hinata thought. No. Like a little one. A baby sister or brother, a baby sibling. He corrected. Ooh. Bolt replied before he started to think. As long as it's a boy. I want a little brother. I could tell him all sorts of cool ninja stuff and not have to worry about cooties. Bolt told the both of them as they laughed. Well, maybe that could be arranged. Hinata told him, giving a glance at her husband. But why can't you just go get a boy? Bolt asked. Because we don't get to pick, it's like a surprise. Naruto said, happy with his explanation. Well, the surprise should be a boy. Bolt mumbled. When will he be here? Or her? And in a few months. Hinata told him. And where is he right now? Can we at least see him? Bolt asked. Naruto put his hand on Hinata's tummy. She is here. Mama is gonna take care of them until they finally think they're cool enough to be your little brother or sister. He explained. Oh, cool. Bolt said while putting his hand on top of Naruto's. Their little family of 3 was growing into a little family of 4, and the 2 of the 3 couldn't be happier. The third would only be happy once he knew it was a little brother. Okay, so unfortunately Bolt is going to be disappointed, but he can get over it because Himawari is the coolest. And I have a pretty good plan for the next one. It's actiony and cool in my head, so yeah. So this chapter takes place 3 weeks after the last chapter, so that's a thing. Yes, can we help you with something? The guard at the gate asked the man in front of him. Judging by the band on his arm, he's from Kurigakure. Yes, I have a message to deliver to the Hokage from the Mizukage. He said, holding out a scroll. Ah, I see. Hokage-sama said that you would be coming. Do you want one of us to lead you to the Hokage Tower? The guard said while gesturing to the 2 in the stall. No, I think I can find it. It's that big tower straight down right. He said, pointing down the middle of the entrance to the village. Yep, that's the one. The guard said. Thank you, gentlemen. The man said with a smile, waving goodbye before he left their sights into the village. Naruto, Bolt, breakfast is ready. Hinata yelled upstairs at her 2 boys. Naruto's eyes squint open, shielding themselves from the sunlight flickering in through the window. He attempted to sit up, but the weight on his left arm wouldn't let him. He shifted his head over to see that his son was laying there. He brought his head up to find he was in his son's bed, half of his body hanging off, and a book on his chest. He heard the door creak open and saw his wife peek her head in the door. Breakfast is ready, she said again, walking in. Sorry, Hinata. I guess I fell asleep with Bolt. I didn't mean to leave you alone last night. Naruto said, putting his hand on Bolt to wake him up. I didn't mind. You 2 looked too comfortable to move last night. Hinata said. Naruto gave a small laugh before waking up his son. Oi, Bolt, Mama's made breakfast. Naruto said, shaking his son's shoulder. Is there pancakes? Bolt asked, his eyes still closed. Of course there is. What kind of breakfast doesn't have pancakes? Hinata told him. That's true. Bolt said, rubbing his eyes. Naruto scooped him up into his arms, getting off the bed. So what do you say we go and eat those pancakes? Naruto said, carrying him out of the room, Hinata following behind him. But I want Mama to carry me. Bolt said. Oh. Naruto hung his head while handing over to Hinata, whose face was a bit red at the remark, but still decided to joke about it. Mama has the better arms. She said to Naruto. No, Mama is softer. Bolt corrected. Oh, and I'm not soft. Naruto stated as the family walked down the stairs. Daddy is like a rock. Bolt said, punching his dad's chest. Hinata laughed at them. Yeah, I guess Mom is more soft there. Naruto said, winking at his wife. Anyway, your breakfasts are already set out. Hinata said, putting Bolt down in his seat. So Bolt, do you want to go and run some errands with Mom today? Hinata asked. Yeah, Bolt, you should since I have to train the team still. Naruto said, stuffing a pancake in his mouth. But Dad, I want to go with you today. Bolt whined. Sorry, Bolt, we're training somewhere dangerous, so not today. Naruto told him. You mean like, that forest? Bolt said, gulping down his juice. That exact one. Naruto said, pointing with his fork. Mama, I want to go with you. Bolt said. The family ate their breakfast in peace, continuing to talk about their plans for the day. After they were done eating, They thanked Hinata for the meal. Naruto left about 2 hours or so before Hinata and Bolt started out on their errands. The first place they went was to the Hyuga compound, or Grandpa's house to Bolt. Grandpa, Bolt said, running towards Hiyashi. Hello little one, how are you? Hiyashi asked. Good. Bolt replied. And what about me? Hanabi said. Aunt Hanabi. Bolt yelled, this time running towards her. Here Bolt, why don't you play with Aunt Hanabi? I got some things to discuss with Grandpa. Hinata told Bolt, ruffling his hair. What does discuss mean? Bolt asked. To talk about things. Now have fun with Hanabi. She told him, walking back towards her father. Come on Bolt, we can go and play outside, okay? Hanabi told him, leading him out of the room. After they left, Hiyashi turned to his daughter. So what brings upon this pleasant surprise? Hiyashi asked. Well, she started, sitting down at their table. I see you brought nothing with you, so you are not feuding with your husband. What? No, we never feud. She defended as her father let out a small laugh. I know. I think he is a very good match for you. Hiyashi said while taking the seat next to her. Now what is your business about? Well, we're expecting another child. She hesitated. Really? I thought you would have been done after Bolt. But congratulations still, he said, placing his hand on her shoulder. Yeah, well things just happen, she said with a blush. But I want to be clear like I was with Bolt, if the child has the Byakugan, they are still going to live their life with us, and not here. No, you've made that decision, and I can't very well keep a mother from her children. She grabbed the hand that was on her shoulder and told him thank you. It's a new generation, and even Hanabi is running around with that Konohamaru kid. He said, rolling his eyes. Hinata laughed. Don't worry, Konohamaru is a good kid. She told her father. I know, it's just that she's my youngest daughter. He said. Don't worry, if she's like me she'll still be around. She said. Yes, but the fact is that she is not like you. Once Bolt and Hinata left the compound, they went to the market to pick up some items for dinner. They perused through the stands of fruit, vegetables, and cut meats. Hinata was exchanging small talk with the woman working a stand while Bolt was picking out some ginger, the funniest looking ones, when someone bumped into her. Oh, excuse me, he said, continuing on his way. Oh no, it's Fi, where'd he go? Hinata asked the stand woman, but she didn't even notice him as she had her back turned. Did you see him, Bolt? Hinata asked. No, but he made me drop that one. He said, pointing to the ginger on the ground. Hinata paid for her groceries, and took Bolt to the park for a bit while she rested her feet. She sat on the bench while her son played on the swing set. Hello Hinata, a familiar voice said. Hinata turned her head towards the voice. Oh, hello Lee, what are you doing out here? She said. I was out for my afternoon jog and spotted you here, is Naruto not with you? He said, taking the seat next to her. No, not today, he's with his team training them. He's always training them though. He said. But they love to train and get stronger, so Naruto keeps them at it, and I don't mind, I get to spend some alone time with my second man. She said, gesturing over to the swing set. Young Bolt, I didn't even notice him. Lee said. Yeah, he can be quite a handful some days, just like his father. Hinata let out a sigh. Hopefully this one won't be as much. She said, putting a hand on her belly. Oh Hinata, I didn't want to say anything against your figure, but this is most excellent news. Lee exclaimed. Do I really look fat? She stuttered. What? No, I ju. He started saying while flustered on his words. I'm just kidding, I know what you meant. She said with a laugh, which was returned with a laugh from him as well. Well, I must continue my jog before my youthful energy runs out, I will see you later. He said while getting up. Yes, I'll see you too. We still have one more errand to run for today ourselves. She said. Lee waved her farewell and continued on his jog. Come on Bolt, we have one more stop. She yelled at her boy. He hurriedly got off the swing and ran back to his mother. She noticed a man standing on the opposite end of the park, under a tree to where his face was hidden by the shadow. Hinata grabbed Bolt's hand, and they walked out of the park. The last stop they made was to the flower shop to pick up some things for their garden. Mom, I want to grow flowers. Alright, go pick out some flower seeds then. She told him as he ran down the aisle. He's getting to be as loud as his father. Ino said. Hinata walked over to the counter to small talk with her friend. Yeah, and he looks exactly like him too. Hinata said. I don't know how you put up with two of them. She said, folding her arms over her chest. Hinata let out a sigh while leaning against the counter, placing her grocery bag there as well. I love them both as all. She said while feeling a tug at the bottom of her skirt. Mom, I wanna grow these. He said, handing her the packets. Sunflowers. Sunflowers will grow taller than you. She told him. That's why they're cool. Bolt told her. Alright, we can grow sunflowers. She said, putting them on the counter. Don't worry about it, Hinata. You spent enough money here in the past month anyway. Ino told her, sliding the packages back at her. Well, thank you, Ino. And what about you, Bolt? You have something to say. She said, lifting her son up to see over the counter. Thank you, Bolt said, grabbing the packages. You are very welcome, she told him. Hinata and Bolt made their way back towards the house as the sun was going down, each carrying something. Hinata was carrying the grocery bag, while Bolt was carrying his sunflowers. Do you really think they'll grow taller than me? Bolt said, staring at the seed packets. If you take care of them, they will. She said, smiling at him. They're going to look really pretty, like Mama. He said. Or like you. You're very pretty. Hinata told him. I know I'm pretty, but I'm also tough too, right? Bolt asked. Of course you are, she said, setting her grocery bag down to dig out her keys from her side bag. But she stopped midway, feeling someone else's presence. She slowly activated her Byakugan, the veins on her face straining. Bolt looked at her funny. Mama, something's happening to your face. He said, never seeing her use it before, at least up close. Bolt, honey, be quiet. She said while pivoting her body in front of him. Instead of her keys, she got her spare kunai from her purse and threw it in the direction of the chakra she was sensing. The person moved out of the way just in time to not get hit. Show yourself, I know you're there. She yelled in the direction she threw. Mom, no one is th. Bolt was silenced by Hinata's hand moving over his mouth. My, I should have guessed you'd notice me with that Byakugan of yours. The man said, stepping out of the shadows. You're that man from the park, and I bet you're the one that bumped me at the marker by the sound of your voice. Who are you? Hinata said forcefully. Me. I'm a shinobi from the hidden mist, here for revenge for my brother. The man said, then continuing, your husband killed him. Hinata paused. That doesn't sound like her husband at all. He never kiss anyone without good reason. It happened a few weeks ago. He came back with a major injury that eventually killed him, so I'm here for revenge, family for family. Even though he doesn't have any siblings, his wife or even son will do just fine. And he drew a kunai from behind him. Then he charged at them. Hinata widened her stance. Bolt hid behind his mother, not knowing what to do. But he never reached them. Bolt only caught a glimpse of the orange flash that took out the man. He could feel the heat from the immense chakra output. He peeked around his mom's leg, looking at the orange source to see him beating the man into the air with every punch he threw. What the air you doing to my family? Naruto said with every punch he threw at the man, his orange chakra burning bright. The final one sent him flying to the ground. Naruto picked the man up by the collar and drew him into his face. Answer me, Naruto yelled. I owe you no answer, the man said, spitting blood on him. Naruto took the man and threw him back into the ground. You don't know who you're messing with. Naruto exclaimed, forming a Rasengan in his hand. Naruto-kun, don't. Hinata yelled from behind him, grabbing his arm. Bolt was still on the porch, terrified at the scene before him. The atmosphere was so heavy even Bolt could feel the rage from his dad. But the man didn't look like his father, but his mom called him Naruto, so that has to be him. He started crying out of fear and confusion. Naruto-kun, calm down, we're all alright, you can't kill him. Hinata yelled, trying to get him to snap back from his rage. Naruto dismissed the Rasengan in his hand and turned around to face his wife, keeping a foot on the man's chest. But he tried to kill the two of you, I can't let him go. Naruto told her as Kurama's chakra disappeared from around him, telling Bolt that was his dad. But you still can't kill him. Hinata told him. Naruto looked down at the unconscious man laying underneath his foot, gritting his teeth. Then what do we do with him? Naruto muttered angrily. We take him to Kakashi, okay. Hey, look at me. I'm fine, both of us are, he's just a bit shaken up. She said, talking about Bolt. Naruto looked her in the eyes after wiping at his face. Fine, I'll tie him up, and we'll take him to Kakashi. Naruto said. Then he walked over to his son, trying to comfort him. He leaned down beside him and put a smile on his face. Did that man scare you? He said, reaching out towards his son. But Naruto's heart literally hurt as his son flinched away from his hand. Hinata saw it too and covered her mouth from surprise. Naruto was in shock. He didn't know what to do. Bolt, are you okay? Naruto asked, getting closer to his son who curled up even further. Naruto felt like he was going to start to cry. The one thing he never wanted to happen was for his kids to hate him. Bolt, did I scare you? Naruto said, staying the same distance he was. He saw a slight nod from Bolt. Buddy, I didn't mean to scare you, I only mean to scare the bad guy. I would never do anything like that to you, not once in a million years, so please don't be scared. Naruto said, reaching his arm out as a last effort to comfort his son. Bolt timidly looked at his dad to see the warm smile he had on his face. Bolt took his hand as Naruto wrapped him in for a hug, letting him cry into his chest. It's okay, Bolt, it's okay, Dad is here, don't worry, he said, rocking Bolt in his arms. Why oh you looked so scary. And mom was scared too. Bolt said between breaths and hiccups. I only look scary so that the bad guys don't mess with us, and mom was scared because she was worried about you. The last thing either one of us is going to do is hurt you, Bolt. Naruto continued. And this man is never going to hurt any of us again. Hinata said, having the man dragged by the collar. You promise? Bolt said, looking up at his dad. We both promise. Naruto said as he looked at his wife, who shook her head in agreement. Do you want to swing a punch at him for trying to hurt Mama? Naruto asked Bolt, who nodded. Naruto took to the man's chest, where Bolt gave him a punch. No one hurts Mama, Bolt told him. This man delivered a letter earlier to me from the Mizukage. He entered the village at 8:33 this morning, and delivered me the letter at 8:58. For the rest of the time between then and now he must have been hiding around the village, stalking your family. Kakashi said to Naruto. Hinata told me he bumped into her at the market, and then he was also in the park with her later. Naruto explained. Do you think he was doing it on purpose? I have no doubt. Did he say anything about his reason for the attack? Kakashi asked. He told Hinata he was here for revenge because I killed his brother a few weeks ago. What I'm guessing happened was he was one of those people I took out that tried to attack Shinta, and he didn't get treatment immediately and died from it. Naruto informed. I see, I'll send a letter to the Mizukage on what she wants us to do with him. I doubt she sent him knowing of his malicious intent. Of course not, you dumbasses. The man said, coming to his senses. Naruto grabbed a kunai from his pouch and put it against his throat. Try anything funny and you're dead. He said maliciously. Naruto, we need him alive. Kakashi said, but taking no action to stop him. You idiots, I killed the original messenger so I could do this myself. I wanted to kill your family like you killed mine. He said, glaring at Naruto. Your family tried to kill one of my subordinates. I wasn't going to let him do that. And I didn't kill him. He didn't get treatment like he was supposed to. He did, he would have been fine. Naruto yelled back. My brother would never do such a thing. He never would have killed a soul in his life. The man yelled. I know what I saw. Every one of those men had kunai in their hand, ready to kill my student. How do you even know I killed him? Both of you need to be quiet. Kakashi yelled. Naruto, take him to a jail cell for holding. Once you're there you can bicker to your heart's content. No way am I going. The man said. Naruto punched him in the head, rendering him unconscious again. Naruto stared at the man through his bar cells, watching as he sat up from the ground. What did your brother look like? Naruto asked. What? The man asked, still gathering his senses. What did your brother look like? Did I stutter? Naruto said again, a bit louder. He had brown hair, with a red band around his forehead, and had a gash from shoulder to shoulder thanks to you. He said, your brother was the first one to attack us. I don't know if you know me that well. But I never kill for fun, and I always protect my comrades. But maybe you should rethink what you know about your brother. Naruto said, walking away from the man. You lying bastard. You know nothing about my brother, and here you are telling lies about him. You're praised as some compassionate war hero who changed the world to a peaceful era, yet you murder innocent lives. He said, trying to reach through the bars at Naruto. A triangle, does that mean anything to you? Naruto said, turning his head back towards him. A triangle? He asked. Every shinobi in that group had a triangle on an armband. He said. The man's face dropped down. A triangle armband signifies a group of people from Kurigakure that want to return the 5 nations to the way they were before the war. War waging and full of hatred. Naruto said, leaning down toward the man who was now sitting on his knees in his jail cell. What's your name? Gintu. And your brother's? Matama. Well, Gintu, I think you need to reevaluate your brother's life choices before you come and try to kill someone's family. Naruto said, turning around, leaving him again. I am sorry for my actions against your family, Gintu said, still staring at the ground. Naruto gave him one final look back before closing the door behind him. Naruto gently closed the front door behind him, making sure not to make too much noise. He entered the kitchen to find a note on the table from Hinata that read, your dinner is in the fridge, love you lots. And a heart underneath it. He looked at the clock mounted on the wall. It's almost midnight, they're probably both asleep. He thought about opening the refrigerator and eating his dinner, but food just didn't sound appetizing. He made his way up the stairs, first to his bedroom to find his wife laying asleep in bed. Walking into the room, he laid down and stirred Hinata slightly to wake her. Oh, Naruto-kun, you're back. What all happened? She said, composing herself. Well, it's a long story. His brother was apparently a part of this Kurigakure club of people that hated the peace and he didn't know it and thought of his brother as some awesome guy, who really wasn't so awesome and he said he was sorry for trying to kill my family, and now he's in a holding cell. Naruto said, and his wife looked confused. I'll tell you the full story tomorrow, okay? He said as he wrapped her arms around her. That sounds fine, dear, but you might want to check on Bolt, he wasn't too eager on going to bed earlier. She said, relaxing her body back down. Naruto sighed and got up again, agreeing with her. He bent down and gave her a kiss before going. I don't know what I would have done if either of you got hurt. He said, putting his forehead against hers. I could have handled him fine, he didn't have a good form, nor was his chakra that stable. She said with a smirk on her face. Hinata, don't joke about this. What if something happened to the baby, or Bolt? I would have never forgiven myself. He said, tears forming in his eyes. I know, I just want you to remember that I'm strong too. I can handle myself against some baddies from time to time, she said as she drew Naruto in close to her chest. But I am glad that you were there to protect the three of us, she said, kissing his head. Naruto wrapped his arms around her and took in her scent, embracing her while everything else seemed to stop. He pulled away first, stroking her hair. I'll go check on Bolt, and knowing him, he'll probably ask me to sleep in his room, Naruto said, sweeping her bangs out of her eyes. That's okay, sweetheart, as long as you're there for him, she said, kissing his forehead. Naruto smiled back at her and got up, leaving the room. Walking down the hallway, he stopped in front of Bolt's door. He turned the knob and slowly opened the door a crack before hearing. Who's there? Naruto should have guessed he was still awake. Opening the door all the way, he stepped in, closing the door behind him. Hey buddy, it's just me, he said, walking towards his bed. Oh, I thought you were some guy after mom again, or maybe after my little brother, he explained. No, that guy has been taken care of. His isn't gonna come hurt your mama anymore, or your baby brother or our sister, Naruto said. But dad, what if another comes and tries to? Bolt asked. Well then me, or even you, are going to be here to protect em, Naruto said. Right. Bolt agreed. The wind outside made a branch tap against Bolt's window, making him jump. You know dad, if we're together then we're twice as powerful, right? Bolt asked, and his father agreed. Then we should stay together tonight. In case someone comes, we're already together, Bolt suggested. Naruto knew he just didn't want to admit he was scared, so he played along. You know what? I think you're right, scoot over, Naruto told him. It was nights like this that he was glad Hinata talked him into getting a full bed for Bolt, so that there'd be extra room for one of them. Naruto settled in the bed with his son, and Bolt snuggled into his dad's arm, and for the second night in a row, Naruto would wake up with half his body off the bed. Whoa, 2 chapters in one day. More like I wrote one 2 days ago on my phone and didn't upload it to my computer until this morning and then wrote this one because I called into work because I'm sick. Crazy world, am I right? I'm debating having a sort of filler chapter next chapter to where it's Naruto and Hinata's first time sleeping together. I will say it'll be more funny, embarrassing than erotic, but still there. Or we can go on to the last chapter and have adorable Hima times. Review or PM me your ideas. Wait, I think I have a poll option. Yes, I have made a poll on the top of my profile, so check that out if you want. Anyway, thank you to all that have reviewed and read, and have stuck with me from the beginning. We're so close to the end I can taste it. After dating for only a few months, Naruto and Hinata's relationship was moving rather fast. They spent all their time together, even some nights. Hinata finally just got done moving in with him to his new apartment, and there was even nudges from Hinata's father to get on with an engagement. Of course the couple was happy together, happier than they've ever been, but the one question all their friends kept asking was, so have you two done it yet? Ino asked, stirring her tea. Hinata nearly spat hers out as she, and all the other girls at the table, looked at her. Ino, why is it every time we're together you always ask her that? Sakura said, slamming a fist on the table. Well, she's the only one that hasn't yet. I have, Ten has, Tamari has, and even you have, Sakura. I just want to congratulate her is all, she said, crossing her arms. Dumbass, if Hinata does, I'm sure she'll tell us when she's good and ready to, if at all, she defended. Hinata felt warm knowing her friend would stick up for her like that. Sorry, Ino said, turning her attention back at Hinata. But seriously, have you yet? No, Hinata stuttered, putting her cup down. You would think as the hero of the whole shinobi world he'd be more confident in bed, Ino said, drinking her tea. Ino, he's not like that. He's kind and compassionate and doesn't want to force anything, she told her. Well, don't you want to though? Ino asked her. It seemed like every girl at the table leaned in a bit more, waiting for her answer. Well, I mean, I don't. I guess, yes, she said, getting more quiet the longer she talked, but everyone in the room heard her nice and clear. She bowed her head in shame, blushing quite a bit. Well, tell him. Say, take me, or something. Tamari yelled. Show him some skin, girl. You live with him. Has he even seen you? Ten asked, and again everyone else leaned in. Well, no, Hinata said. Avoid eye contact with anyone. What? The entire room yelled. How has he not? Have you seen him? Ino asked. Well, oh, only once, but not really. He accidentally tripped on top of me from the shower and his towel came off, but I didn't see anything, but he was for sure. I feel like he was more embarrassed than I was though. Hinata said, recalling the memory more vividly in her head, making her face turning tomato red at the sight of her boyfriend scramble off of her, saying sorry a million times, trying to cover himself. Hinata, why don't you just talk to Naruto about it? I'm sure he'd be happy too. I bet he even picked up a few tricks from that old sage. Sakura winked at her. Hinata tried her best to stuff her smile down. Well, I guess it wouldn't hurt. She said. See. And next week when we all hang out you can finally say yes to Ino. Sakura said. Hey, it's for her own good. Hinata remembered the conversation from almost a week ago as she unlocked their apartment, stepping inside to find her boyfriend lying on the couch. Ah, Hinata, I missed you, he said, springing up to greet her. I missed you too, she said, accepting the kiss he wanted to give her. Hey, I've got something I want to show you, he said, dragging her into the kitchen. I made dinner already, he said, pointing to the stove. Hinata peeked over him and looked at what he made. You made spaghetti, she said, walking towards the pot of noodles. I didn't burn it, and I even made sauce, he said, gesturing to the pot behind the noodles. She turns back around towards him. I'm very impressed, good job, she said, putting her arms on his chest. Do I get a reward for being such a good cook? I can only cook two things, spaghetti and ramen, so I promise it won't happen often, he said, pointing to his cheek. Hinata laughed, kissing to where he was pointing. Yes, he said, picking her up. I love you, he said, smacking his lips on her forehead multiple times. Hinata was laughing non-stop for the entire thing. After Naruto finally let her down, he asked if she wanted him to make her a plate, to which she agreed. So Hinata, here is your spaghetti, compliments of the best boyfriend ever, he said, putting the plate down in front of her. For someone that's never had a girlfriend before, you sure know how to be a great boyfriend, she said, grabbing her fork. Well, Pervy Sage told me how to treat girls right. Always put them before yourself, make sure they're happy, that sort of stuff, he said as he sat down with his own plate. At the time I didn't listen because I thought, getting up again, propping his foot on the chair. I don't have time for girls, I have to find Sasuke and train hard. He mocked himself, sitting back down. But I'm glad I remembered, he said, swirling his fork in his plate. God, he is so cute, she thought as he slurped a noodle from hanging out of his mouth. She watched as his jaw moved to chew, and somehow it was just alluring to her. His Adam's apple moving as he swallowed, heck, his hands looked so big and warm holding his fork, it was almost like she was in a trance. Then she thought back to what Sakura told her. She just has to ask, right? There's no harm in that, is there? Hey, Naruto-kun, she asked, getting his attention. He said, drinking from his water. Would you ever? I mean, if you don't want to, it's fine, but would you maybe want to? Ma, the rest was too quiet for Naruto to hear. He scooted his chair up next to her side. You don't have to talk so loud now, do it to where you're comfortable, he said, putting an arm around her. She appreciated his kindness. Would you ever want to do, you know? She said, poking her fingers and not making eye contact. Naruto responded, his face blushing hard. He had a hard time wrapping his head around the idea that she said the word. Well, you see, I mean, I find you very attractive and all, but I just don't know what to do. He said sheepishly. I never had parents to tell me, or a friend who'd already done it, at least that cared to share, and I never really had time to research what to do. This is actually really embarrassing. He said with a chuckle. Hinata looked at him with a confused look. Really? All that time with Jiraiya-sama and he didn't tell you anything? She asked, almost disappointed. I was 13-14 at the time. I just wanted to be a better shinobi, not learn how to do it. Naruto said, scratching at his head. Hinata just looked him in the eye before she started laughing. Why so funny? Naruto said as he stuck his lips out. Hinata wiped the tear from her face. Nothing. It just sounds so. You. She said. Is that a bad thing? He murmured. No, not at all. She said, kissing his cheek. If it makes you feel better, I've never done it before either. Really? I never thought about it. He said, putting a hand on his chin. But I have the upper hand in that I have friends that have told me. She said. So why don't you tell me all that you know, and we can go from there, okay? She asked, still slightly blushing. He said, crossing his arms over his chest. I know that. I put my this, gesturing to his crotch, in your that, gesturing to hers. That's it, she said, extremely confused. Oh, and I have to wear protection. He said in a light bulb moment. Hinata was speechless. That was it. No, we make out first. Or, I touch you everywhere, or even, we get undressed. She was thankful he knew about the last part at least. Okay. Well, Hinata started, but Naruto interrupted her. Hey Hinata, this is going to sound super sudden, but I'm a visual learner, so maybe. I don't know. He was beginning to sound like Hinata with his mumbles. We just go for it? She asked, tilting her head a bit. Yeah, he said awkwardly loud. I even thought ahead because I was thinking, we are going to have, eventually in our relationship, right? So the other day I bought some condoms. Naruto said, feeling his cheeks heat up on the last word. The store lady gave me a weird look, he added on. Hinata laughed. Well, I'm glad you thought ahead. She said, still slightly giggling. And I don't see any harm in trying to do it. So we have to get undressed, right? He asked. They were both still fully clothed, staring at each other in their bedroom, lights off. Why, yeah, she replied. Okay. Naruto pinched the back of his green shirt, pulling it over his head, showing his chest. Hinata instantly blushed, and almost out of instinct she put her hand on his stomach, rubbing his muscles. She must have been like that for 10 seconds without realizing what she was doing. Sorry, she yelled, jumping back. She saw Naruto's head roll back into its normal position. Don't be sorry, it felt like a massage. He said with a smile on his face. Now it's your turn to take off your shirt. He asked. Hinata nodded as she crossed her arms at the bottom of her shirt and hesitated. She turned around and did it, showing him her white bra band. You have a very pretty back, Hinata. He said genuinely, not even commenting on the fact that she turned around. Okay Hinata, he's your boyfriend, not the kid you had a crush on. You can do this. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. She thought as she turned back around. She could feel the visible jiggle of her S as they settled back down from their movement. She saw Naruto's eyes widen, and a hand cover his face. She could tell his face was red since his hand distinctly did not match the color of his face. What? She said sheepishly, bringing her arms up to hide her cleavage. I have an urge to touch them, can I? He asked, hand still over his face. Hinata moved her head back in surprise. If you want to, she said, sitting down on the edge of the bed. Naruto sat down next to her, almost putting his hand on her right boob, but hesitated. Can I take this off? He said, pointing to her bra. If you can, it's kind of tricky. She squeaked out. Naruto looked at the clasp and in one swift motion, her bra was unhooked. Hinata felt the support leave as her chest sagged down a bit. She was surprised that Naruto could do that so fast. The cuffs on my jacket have the same kind of thing, he said. Hinata formed her mouth to make an, oh. Hinata slid her straps from her shoulders, tossing the bra against the wall. She then turned on the bed and faced her boyfriend. His face went bright red in a heartbeat, and no sooner had she turned around that a trickle of blood came out his nose. Naruto. She started, pointing to his face. Oh, sorry, he said, wiping his face. Do you still want to touch them? She asked sheepishly. I want to touch you, he said. God, that was smooth, she thought in her head. Slowly he reached his hand for her chest, Hinata mentally preparing herself for this moment. She could feel the heat from his hand as it was centimeters away, until it landed right where her nipple was in the middle of his palm. This is wonderful, he said, not taking his eyes off his hand. Hinata held back a laugh at his words, thinking it might discourage him. Slowly he started moving his hand around, watching her left boob move with it. He was too entranced by it to notice Hinata's face blush as she rolled her head back, enjoying his playing. Naruto brought his other hand up to her open boob and grabbed it, doing similar things. He smushed them together, pushed them in, and cupped them in his hands. Eventually he decided he should pinch her nipple, since it just looked so pinch-able to him. He didn't do it very hard but enough to summon a sound from Hinata. HNNN. She moaned extremely quiet, but to Naruto it was so loud and distinct, and it made him want to hear it again. Did you like that? He said, making sure it wasn't a cry in pain. She said with her lips together. Slowly Naruto started kneading at her nipples more. Pinching, pulling, and even flicking, which he thought she enjoyed the most since her body twitched when he did it. Can I put my mouth on it? He asked while still looking at himself work. Sure, she said, too entranced to really comprehend what he said. Naruto circled his mouth around her nipple, ing on it. This got more of a response than anything else he was doing, so he figured it must be right. He was enjoying it as well. He took his mouth away and stared at her, watching as she came back to her senses, a blush growing on her face. That felt nice, she said, too embarrassed to look at him. So that was the right thing to do. Because it felt right to me. He said. It was right, she said. Anything that makes the other person feel good is right. She explained. I see, but we still aren't fully yet, are we? He asked. I guess not, she said, realizing that they were both fully clothed from the waist down. Well, it's my turn I guess, he said while getting up. He undid the tie around his waist and Hinata closed her eyes, still bringing herself up to the reality that this was happening. Hinata, Naruto said, grabbing her attention. She opened her eyes and saw him in his black boxer with frogs on them. She would have laughed at them if she also didn't notice the bulge in his crotch. You are very handsome, she whispered out, and Naruto let out a light laugh, and a thank you. Okay, my turn, she said, getting up. She put her thumbs in the top of her skirt and shimmied it down, leaving her white underwear on. She stepped out of it and turned around and bent to pick up her skirt. Ha! Naruto let out as she bent down, perking her bottom into the air. She heard him hit something and snapped back up, turning to look at him. She saw that he was propping himself up on the side of his dresser, and his foot up against it, assuming that that's what made the noise, and his hand was covering his nose and mouth, reaching for a tissue with the other hand. Hey! Are you okay? She stammered, folding her skirt. Naruto just nodded, wiping his face with the tissue, then wiping his hand. Why, you're just very beautiful and attractive, he said, throwing away the tissue with his blood on it. Okay. Why, your turn, Hinata said, flinging her hand as to signal for him to go. Why don't we do it at the same time? He suggested. We can turn around and go at the same time. He added. Why yeah, that sounds good. She said. They both turned around and thought to themselves. She's so hot, I can't compare to that. She's like a goddess and I'm a guy who can summon frogs. What if I'm terrible at and she never wants to be with me again? Or what if I end up hurting her and she cries? Or what if I fall asleep on top of her? She's loved me for so long, I can't disappoint her. Naruto thought. I can't believe it, the first guy to see me is going to be him. I need to quit being so embarrassed, he loves me. I wonder if he's thinking the same thing, or am I just paranoid? He always has those girls that stalk him everywhere, surely that boosts his confidence, or maybe I don't know. Oh, on the count of 3, okay. Naruto said, and Hinata agreed. 1, he said. 2, she said. 3, they both said. They turned around and stared. Naruto looked at how Hinata's pale skin glowed, her body linking together so perfectly as was unreal, how her hair was so dark that it made the rest of her body popped like an angel's would. Her hips looked so plump and soft, with a beautiful curvature to them. Hinata stared at his muscles. The way they moved as he breathed, his legs looking strong and slender. The V shape at the base of his abs led perfectly to his. And she stared at it in awe. It looked so big and almost intimidating. She swallowed. You look stunning. He said, waltzing towards her. Why you do too, she said, meeting him halfway. There was a beat, and Naruto and Hinata's faces met to kiss. He put his hand behind her head, pushing her mouth into his. His other hand trailed down her back, grabbing her. He didn't know what he was doing, it just felt right to him. His body told him to do something, and he didn't question it. He moved his tongue into her mouth, running it along her teeth. He nibbled her lips, not biting too hard. The moans from Hinata's mouth into his were good signs as he gently pulled her to the bed, lying on top of her. He groaned as her rubbed against his thigh as he was on top of her. Taking a note from it, he rubbed himself against her lower hip. He moved his hand up to her chest, the other cupping her cheek as they continued their kissing. You are really doing great, Hinata said while she breathed in the breaks of their mouths. This is just instinct, he said in a smiling fashion. He moved his mouth away from hers, and started trailing down her neck, ing at the base. He felt Hinata's legs keep moving as he continued. He trailed his hand downward, exploring her body. He could feel her hip bones through her skin as she arched her back up. God, I just want to touch you everywhere, he said while breathing out, gliding a hand up and down her side. He caressed her arms, her shoulders, her stomach, and her face. The hand on her hip moved further down, finding her warm. You just tell me if it feels good, okay? Naruto told Hinata, and she shook her head in agreement. He moved his fingers around her folds, feeling the warmth it offered. He found what felt to him like a lump, and started playing with it. He saw Hinata shake her head up and down. Good, so this is right, he thought as he continued, going a bit harder. He felt Hinata squirm underneath him as he continued. He moved his hand to where his thumb was massaging her and let his other fingers explore more. He found an entrance with his index finger almost immediately. He circled it, while seeing Hinata nod again. It's like, you're a natural. Hinata whimpered. Naruto smiled at the compliment. He leaned his head down and started to on her tit again. He moved his index finger into her, going slow as to not hurt her. He heard a yelp from Hinata and stopped completely. What's wrong? Did I hurt you? He asked, scared of her response. What? And no, it was just a new feeling, you're doing wonderful. She encouraged. Naruto let out a sigh of relief and continued where he left off, moving his finger farther in her. She bucked her hips towards him, forcing him completely in. He smirked mentally as he started moving in and out of her, continuing to rub her. Hinata started to moan louder as he continued, gripping the bedsheets in one hand, the other gripping at his hair. He didn't mind it, he actually thought it felt nice. He moved faster as she squirmed more, and she released her grasp on his hair, her body itself seemed to sink down, and her wrapped around his finger. He knew she was enjoying it, but the change was unexpected. Hey, are you okay? He asked timidly. Ha, oh yes, she responded. He felt the constrictions on his finger losing power as she came back to her senses. She turned her head and looked at him with a smile, before blushing and covering her face. Don't stare. It's embarrassing, she protested. Why is that embarrassing? I thought you like it. He asked, still confused. I did. It's just embarrassing to have you stare at me while I come, she said. Naruto gave her a look, and it clicked in her head. He doesn't even know what that means, does he? She thought, almost laughing at the situation. It's like, all of what felt good that you did to me built up, and happened 10 times stronger. She said, hoping that it made sense. An orgasm? He asked. Why didn't I just say orgasm? She thought. Yes, exactly that, she said. Hinata, I'm not that stupid. I know what an orgasm is, I've just never given one to somebody. He said. Sorry, but why did you give me a funny look? She asked. Because that isn't embarrassing, it should feel nice. He told her. No, it did. It's just. Her words were stopped by Naruto's mouth against hers. She completely lost her train of thought as she gave into his mouth, rolling her tongue around his. He pulled away, cupping her face. I know what you mean, but you don't have to feel that way around me, okay? He said. Oh, okay. She stuttered, still in surprise from the kiss. They continued, his lips against hers. He ran his fingers through her long hair, and along her body. Her hand grabbing the back of his neck, while the other lay on his chest. With a nibble on her bottom lip from she said the words Tamari told her to use. Take me. Naruto felt his twitch at the words. Are you sure? He asked, and Hinata moaned yes into his mouth. With the reach of his arm he opened the nightstand and pulled out a condom. He stared at it for a minute while Hinata stared at him. Why you okay? She asked. I'm reading, he said, and Hinata's mouth made an, oh. He unwrapped the package and slid it on his. Perfect, he said, getting back into the position he was in before. Stop me if anything hurts, okay? I will, don't worry, she said, grabbing his cheek. He aligned his with her, and slid in slowly, looking for any sign on her face that he was hurting her. What he only saw were her eyes rolling back farther the more he went in. Feels good? He asked, and she nodded while letting out a small moan. He was fully in her, and nothing was going wrong. So he let his instincts take over and started moving in and out, like he did his hand earlier. Hinata started moaning deeper than before. You feel really good, she whispered into his ear. Naruto smiled and kissed her neck, as to say thank you. You feel really good too, he said, going a bit faster. He reached an arm toward her chest, playing with her tits. His mouth was ing at her neck. Are you sure you never did this before? She said between their lips. Yeah, it just feels right, he said, continuing to pick up the pace. Hinata's moans were becoming more vocal as they went on, she even said his name a few times. Naruto repositioned himself to be upright, grabbing her legs and bringing them up to where he could still penetrate her, increasing his speed drastically, using her legs as leverage. His eyes watching as her huge chest bounced up and down with his thrusts. Oh, Naruto, this feels so good, she moaned in between thrusts. She could feel she was close again, but she didn't want this to end, so she tried to resist longer. Naruto squeezed her thigh as he continued to get faster, moaning a few times himself. Ha, Hinata, you feel so good, he yelled while squeezing her thigh harder. Naruto-kun, I don't think I can hold out much longer, she said, pulling on the bedsheets like before. Naruto wasn't going to admit it, but he was at his limit too, but he'd be damned if he came before she did. Instead he started to thrust upwards towards the ceiling, bringing her body up with him, and gently grabbed her with his free hand. Hinata came from that, The way how his was hitting her was just too much. Her body started to have spasm as her waves of pleasure surged through her body. Naruto came mere seconds after her. He felt his mind go blank, and his muscles jerk as his pulsed in her own pulsing. God, it felt so good to him. He said her name in a long and windy moan. Hinata, he said, body still jerking towards her. His breaths were rapid and loud, and the sound of him ing air through his teeth was the only sound in the room. He pulled out of her, talking the condom, tying it, and throwing it, hopefully, into the trash can. He then collapsed down next to Hinata. That was, he said, trying to gather his thoughts. Great, Hinata finished, her breathing still a bit rapid like his. Yeah, great, he said, wrapping his arms around her, pulling her into his chest. We should do this more often, he suggested. Hinata laughed. I'd be okay with that, she said, snuggling down into him. Did you like it? He asked her, stroking her hair. Oh yes, you were amazing, she said, kissing his chest. You were too. I'm glad that I got to experience it with you, he said. Me too. I just think it's weird, she said. Naruto shifted his head down towards her. What's weird? Well, everyone always says that the first time is the worst, but ours was amazing, she said. That's because you're amazing, he told her, kissing her head. The next day Hinata arrived at the flower shop, and made her way to the back where the other girls were. She took her normal seat next to Sakura, and noticed everyone was staring at her. What? She asked, looking at everyone. You know what? Ino said. Did you do it? Hinata's face went red, as she started to poke down at her fingers. Ooh, this is it. It's the final chapter. Are you all excited? I'm excited. This chapter even has some cute little Sasusaku family moments in it for fun. Anyway, I want to thank everyone who has read this story from the beginning to the end, or from any point really, and stuck out to this point with me. It means such an incredible amount to me, and I can't thank you all enough. But anyway, along with the chapter. Mom, I want to sit on your lap. Bolt protested, but he knew it wouldn't change anything. I'm sorry, Bolt, you can't sit on Mom's lap right now, Hinata told him. Why is he so big? Bolt asked, crossing his arms. Bolt, it's a girl, and she's just growing is all, Hinata said, rubbing her stomach. Well, she needs to hurry up, because I want Mama too, he said, still pouting. But what about Dad? You can sit on my lap, Naruto said, patting his leg. Bolt just looked over his shoulder. It's not the same. Naruto hung his head. I guess my lap isn't good enough, he thought. Just think, Bolt, next week you and your sister can be on my lap, Hinata said cheerfully. Yeah, but I want to sit there now, Bolt said. Sorry, sweetheart, she said, scooting up to the edge of the couch to get up. Whoa, where are you going? Naruto asked. To get a drink, she replied. No, I'll get it, Naruto said, beating her to getting up. Oh, well, thank you, and tea is fine, she said. The one, or the green one? He asked from the kitchen. The green. Naruto started brewing her tea. The past week everything got really cold, so tea was a constant drink the house. You know, Bolt, I think it's about time for bed, don't no think, Hinata said, looking at the time. What? But it's only just past 8. Bolt asked, looking at the clock. That's right, and do you know your bedtime? Hinata asked. Of course I do, it's 8:30. Bolt said. So isn't it about time for bed? Bolt yelled. Hey, Bolt, what about a bath? You wanna take a bath? Naruto yelled from the kitchen. Bolt stopped his protests. He loved baths. He loved the bubbles, he loved the toys, he loved splashing water at his dad, but he hated it, because he would be put to bed right after. Yeah, he said defeated. Naruto walked back into the living room, handing Hinata her cup. Thank you, she said, giving him a kiss on the cheek. Here, I go get your bath ready, you can stay down here with Mom, okay? Naruto said, ruffling his son's hair, then making his way to the bathroom upstairs. Mom, when will she be here? He whined, poking her belly. It should be any day now. We just have to be patient. She said with a smile. I guess it won't be too bad when she's here. Bolt said, rubbing his mom's tummy. Just think, you can look after her, teach her how to be strong, color together, have little sleepovers in your room, and even play pranks on Dad together. She said, putting her hand on his shoulder. Yeah, that'll be fun. Bolt said, thinking about all the cool stuff him and his sister could do. She then started to kick his hand. Bolt smiled at his mom. See, she already wants to have lots of fun with you. She smiled. All right, Bolt, the bath's ready. Naruto said, coming down the stairs. Dad, feel. Bolt said, gesturing to his mom's tummy. Oh yeah, she's real kicking, probably saying, let me out, let me out. Naruto said, placing his hand over his son's. Well, we need to get her out. Bolt said worriedly to his dad, making them both laugh. Don't worry, Bolt, she'll come out when she's really ready. Naruto said, picking him up, leading him to his bath. Oh no, the village is gonna be destroyed if someone doesn't help us. Naruto said, pretending to be the rubber duck he was holding. Ha ha ha, no one can save you now. He said, changing his voice to match the soap in his other hand. No, if only Bolt were here. The rubber duck said, have no fear, I've come to save the day. Bolt said, raising his arm up. Hooray, our hero. The duck said, you think you can defeat me? The greatest soap ninja that ever lived. I'd like to see you try. Soap said, yeah, well, I'll have Gamabunta help me. Bolt said, grabbing the frog toy, sending it flying down onto the soap in Naruto's hand, knocking into the water. No, the soap said, using his best gargle voice. Oh, thank you, Bolt, you saved everyone. The duck said, it's no problem for the greatest ninja that ever lived. Bolt replied with a smirk on his face. Naruto took the opportunity to splash at his son, breaking his character. Dad, I just saved the village. He protested. A good ninja doesn't let his guard down. His dad said back jokingly. Bolt splashed him back. Don't let your guard down. Bolt yelled, and the splash fight began. It was an all-out war that raged for several seconds until Naruto called for a truce. Alright, you won. If we get any more water on the ground, Mom is going to kill us. Naruto said, shielding his eyes. Bolt laughed. You should remember this next time you mess with the strongest ninja ever. He said, crossing his arms. Naruto laughed at the sight, relaxing his body against the edge of the bathtub and the wall. Bolt picked up his toad again and looked at it. Hey, Dad, do you think I'll ever be able to summon Gamabunta, like actually? He asked, putting the frog on the edge of the bathtub. I'm sure. You just have to work hard. Naruto said with a thumbs up. What about you? Do you think I'll be as strong as you? Of course. The real challenge is being stronger than Mom. He said, getting a laugh out of his son. They sat there for a minute, Bolt playing with the bubbles, Naruto closing his eyes for a moment, letting the water soak into his body. Are you excited, Bolt? You know, to be a big brother? Naruto asked, his eyes still closed. Huh, I mean, yeah, a bit. Bolt said, a slight smile on his face. I think it'll be cool. I'm glad you think so. You have to make sure she stays out of trouble. I will. I'll make sure she's a good ninja too. Alright, Bolt, I say it's time for us to get out and dry off, yeah. Naruto said, looking at the clock hanging on the wall. It's already past your bedtime. What? No way. Bolt protested. Come on, Bolt, I'll even read you a story. Naruto bribed. As long as I get to pick it out. And then the lion promised never to hurt anyone ever again. Naruto said, closing the book. Okay, Bolt, it's time for bed now. Naruto said, grabbing his blanket. What? No. Just one more, please. Bolt pleaded. Bolt, I've already read you 2 stories. I have to go read some to your mom too. Naruto said. Bolt thought about how much he liked his dad reading him stories, and decided mom needed some too.